Okay. Hi, this is Radhima from STEER HRD Solutions. We are an HR consulting firm helping small and medium-sized enterprises build organizations with high performance culture. And we have with us Nandan affectionately called as Raghu Don, MD CEO of Nandan GSE. I would want Raghu to say hi to
Hi,
everybody.
Raghu. Hi,
Uh,
Raghu.
yeah, good to have you. We've been associated with Nandan for a year now, and we've had a lot of small and big milestones together in people strategy. The last 2 months, which were unprecedented and uncertain, unlikely, unknown to all of us, and I have experienced some exemplary leadership from Raghu in these 2 months. And I've roped him in today to share his secrets with us as to how he has managed his team and how is it that he has kept the energy in him and in his team, and how they are all ready to go just as we begin to open. So Raghu, how do you feel that all work and you've started work again?
Good. I think fantastic because two things. One is that we were running, and at some point of time we were all hoping for rest, and suddenly when the rest came, and all of us again were like, when is this rest going to end? So that was pretty funny. But I think it's great coming back to office and being with the team and working and stuff. So the goals were are more tangible rather than having clean utensils and clean houses. Those are the goals for 2 months.
Yeah.
Going ahead, I think everybody, including the team, including us, the management, middle management, and even right up at the worker level, everybody wanted to work because we're all used to it. So it's good being back.
Yeah, that's something unusual about Nandan, I would say, where you've been able to retain 90% of your people, and only maybe 10% of the migrants have also gone back, which is the percentage is actually reverse in most of my clients, and generally in the industry, people have been able to retain about 20%, and 80% have gone back. So we are here in a candid conversation with you, and I'm hoping that you leak all your secrets to us today.
Not all, some yes.
Yeah, of course. That's my job to get the most out of out of you in this conversation. So let's get started. I'm going to ask you a few questions and uh, share as much as you can. People can learn from your experiences and implement the same in their businesses. And yeah, so let's get started. So what challenges did you as an organization face in the last 2 months? It could be in terms of finances, revenues, people. Could you share a little bit about that? What were your challenges?
So I think the COVID situation was not planned by anybody. I mean, anybody who says that they made a 5-year plan and they catered for everything would have not even figured something like this, where you would be shut down for a long time, the lockdown or whatever. But I think on the good part, the entire world was shut down. So it's a great equalizer, so to speak. Uh, the Chinese word for crisis has a meaning which also means opportunity. That's actually in the Chinese alphabet. So I also see that if seen in the right context, this actually could turn out to be an opportunity for MSMEs, for Indian companies, and for a lot of other maybe segments and sectors and stuff like that. Even during this time, you heard of Geo having fantastic valuations and stake sales. You heard about Zoom doing great revenue, and they were $60 billion today, which is I think if you see in terms of our entire IT industry, if you keep aside TCS, the rest of them would be worth that much. So single tool being valued at so much shows that times are changing. So we've been using the term VUCA times for almost the last 20 years. But if you ask me, this has been one of the most challenging times which have been unprecedented in the last 150 or 200 years at least, I would think. We've heard of Spanish flu being worse than this, but at that time there was no WhatsApp. So the fear mongering was not as bad as it was today. So I think today the difference was that for the first 2 months, the fear was very high and the impact of Corona was medium. But now the people have started not fearing what's happening, and you don't know what will happen. So even today, it's just because we opened, or just because the lockdowns have opened up, I'm sure the message has not reached Corona. They don't know all these, they don't follow these rules. So people should not step out of line way too much and get too
Yeah, of
enthusiastic
course,
about
of
things.
course.
But
It's
yeah,
yes.
but beyond that, I think in the 2 months that have been like shut down, uh, it is a time for it's like a retreat. When in school or even in organizations, always a retreat is an important time. Generally, people would do a 1 day or a 2 day outbound. This kind of turned out to be like a 2 month outbound retreat or inbound retreat, however you might put it out. So my 8-year-old daughter also told me, Dad, if you can't go out, go in. So she drew something.
That's excellent. So I think that's a lot of positivity, stemming from you, where you're calling this an opportunity, you're calling this a retreat, but at the heart of it, and everybody knows that we face some challenges. And would you like to share some challenges in terms of finances, revenues? How, what was it that you were facing in terms of people, the way you started, and how these 2 months have been for you?
Right.
Would you like
So
to speak about?
generally, as MSMEs, we don't really have a war chest where we can pick out money from. Money will always come from accruals. We make something, we deliver something, we earn, we plow it back, etc. And like March end, again, we have invested heavily into work in progress, your raw material and stuff like that. So we hardly had any left, and everything was banked upon these items being delivered and then collections happening. But then almost since February, kind of collections trickled down, where whatever clients you used to give money kind of slowed down dramatically. And by the end of March, when the COVID actually happened, we realized the current account is empty, and it was left scratching, saying, how do we survive? So it was definitely the first few weeks were very scary, saying, how exactly do we survive? What is going to happen? Is this lockdown for 14 days? That itself was a scary part, saying, how do we stay down for 14 days? And then it became 21, then 30, then 40. And clients were all closed down, so no collections happening. Vendors still depend upon you for payments and stuff. So as a cycle, there was no strategy that was in place to apply. We had to create new rules all the time. Who has to get paid, who has to not get paid. But I think by and large, look, all of us in India, at least the MSMEs, have taken the people in stride and taken them along. And I don't think that the way your VC funded people have been firing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I don't think any SME has even fired like 5% of his staff because work is not there. So that's a very, very strong point which showcases the backbone of the country is the MSMEs and not just the corporates. Corporates are great, yes, because they can do CSR at a level where we can't even think about. So whether it's the Tata's pledging 1,500 crores or whether it's the Ambani's pledging huge money, maybe we can't do things on that level, but I think in our own way, each of us has contributed towards nation building, and we are proud as Nandan. We've done our bit in taking care of our people. Whatever we could do for the community, we've done that. For the supply chain, we've done that. So though we didn't have cash flows from accruals, the bank was very, very handy. We bank with Union Bank of India, and the moment the first was announced by RBI, they were the first people who called us and said, hey, why don't you just send an application and we will disburse your loan. So you generally hear about 200 pages of documents that you need to sign and everything. So this time nothing. We had to only do a board resolution and undertaking and a promissory note, and within 2 days the bank disbursed the entire money. And the good part in that was the money was only useful for salaries, for fixed costs, for statutory dues, so that I could not use that for vendor payments. So in a way, it helped us that we were able to regulate these very important expenses, and without being worried about cash flow from accruals, we had a source to get it done. I don't really know how many banks have supported their customers in that way, but yes, our Union Bank of India did. So we were very lucky there.
So that's excellent, yeah, Raghu, that you faced the similar challenges that everybody did, but you kept on your feet, you thought on your feet, you came out with strategies, your collaborative partners have helped you. And I see that you have emerged much stronger. I've been interacting with your team, and your managers are more responsive now, they're energized. And everybody looks very cohesive. So what have you done in these 2 months? What do you think has worked, and what have you created in these 2 months which has got you here and the energy in the team?
So I think if I need to articulate it out, it could be a couple of things. It was about a lot of communication we were doing internally among the leaders as well as among the team. I got to remind all of them back to the purpose of our organization. What is the goal of the organization? We began from the basics all over again, trying to drill down. A lot of new guys got onboarded that way. We had given offers to a few people, so even then we onboarded them on, and they joined in too. I had invested into a learning management system quite some time back. Now we actually saw the big utility of the whole thing out, where a lot of learning, a lot of push. Initially, it seemed like pressure to everybody that we were working on in this kind of a pressure environment, and there is so much of what is this learning? We don't know. We know how to weld and cut and shout. But then I think people did understand that there are softer skills that you need to learn. One of your courses was very, very handy. I'm certain that, pushed you,
I enjoyed it too, conducting
pushed
it for
you
you.
out of your comfort zone to make sure that you deploy the course out. And I think our entire team really, really liked it. Personal effectiveness at the workplace, that was a course. So similarly, a lot of my coaches, a lot of my well-wisher trainers and stuff, I was able to help them reach a certain market because I also have a platform called mygyan.net. So through that, I was able to get them to reach a lot of people. One of the webinars I held for, I think, sales reached almost about 750 people concurrently watching it. So right from understanding the purpose to getting role clarity done with the team, with individuals, with departments, understanding each other's roles, making a policy handbook and a role chart, working across each department and getting them to do their way of working, documenting that on video, getting them to see that again and again, do reviews with them weekly. So these are all the small things that I think we did. It
Yeah.
helped us keep positive, like you kept saying. Positive, yes, because it's not the end of the world. Because if you ask me, in the 19th and 20th century itself, we've had worse pandemics than this strike through. We've had the Spanish flu, we've had the Bombay flu, we've had Ebola, we've had two world wars, we've had a nuclear holocaust that was done, we've had Chernobyl, we've had the Bhopal gas tragedy. So if you ask me in terms of concentration, we've had worse. But maybe at those times, the communication and the ease of communication was not that easy. So we use the communication towards the positive aspects. I stopped watching news completely. I have not watched maybe more than 2 or 3 hours of news network, live in the last 3 months. I used to just read the headlines for knowing what's happening, but never got into the deep of how many cases, what is happening. No,
Yeah.
we stayed on the positive, did a lot of meditation going in. So just because we are not going to office doesn't mean you wake up late and do this. I still continued my regime of waking up at 4:45 in the morning, continuing on with the thinking. A lot of writing, a lot of documentation has been done. Got to meet with the fantastic coaches. Like, I also invested a lot of money, not just in India. I had coaches from the US, one from Australia, one from Hong Kong, where I got into some bit of coaching with them too. So I think getting away from the comfort zone, trying to do different than what we were doing, because I believe what got you here won't take you there. So unless we work on changing and evolving and transforming ourselves, we really can't do much of change. And if as a leader I can't do that, I can't expect that out of my people. So that's, I think, the hands-on approach that I've shown is the reason maybe why a lot of them did reciprocate. There will always be a few who might not, but then that also showcases where you need to put your energy on. So whoever was responding, I've been more forthcoming. We've invested more on them, and they're responding back.
So I think a lot of communication was happening from you, like you mentioned on your purpose, but you had a very clear reporting defined. Your teams were constantly in touch with people, trying to take, concerned about health of people. You empowered your leaders council, and that's the word that we coined in these 2 months.
Right,
And then we did a lot of training is what my
right,
so I think what has worked for us is the communication, the empathy that we showed during the
correct,
course, and the trainings that so I think that's what kept the connect going.
correct.
uh, so specifically what did you do? Because see, it's unusual that a company has retained 90% of the migrant workers. So what's the secret? I really want to know
Firstly,
what you did to have that happen. What was the communication that you, what is the pattern that you used that has kind of retained the staff
so
post the
I think firstly, one of the things was we had an open channel communication. So the WhatsApp group was always there. First things first I did was I blocked the news. There, I gave a strict policy that no news, no forwards will happen on the main WhatsApp groups. So we have one for the staff and one with the entire team. So only positive news was being sent across wherever possible. Secondly, we use technology to the fullest. I've been using a paid paid Zoom account almost 3 years now. But there were so many clients actually to whom I've introduced Zoom. But beyond that, we did a lot of Zoom with the team in this stage. We did a lot of Google Hangouts and YouTube live telecasts I've done for talking to my workers who Zoom was a little maybe overkill for them. Communicating how to do that was difficult, but YouTube was easy. So we got them to get onto a Google Meet Hangout, and 80, 90 people getting into it together where it's two-way communication, not just one way, was quite interesting. Getting my leaders to go and talk also was useful. That was number one. Number two is we divided the company into smaller groups. So even within production, which is bulk of my people, my supervisors took responsibility of 8 or 10 people, and they were constantly calling them, finding out where they were, is everything okay, was their health fine. So at that point of time, a lot of people did say that they're going to go to their native place, which again is, if you ask, manufacturing is not a new phenomenon. May period will always have an exodus, because every May, and especially we used to say, people from UP and BR always go back to Gao during that time. So it's not something that was unseen or unforeseen. So we have a very strong leave application system, not just now, since many years. If a guy goes for leave without informing, he's called AWOL, absent without leave and intimation. So when he comes back, we take disciplinary action. So a lot of people do apply for leave somewhere in the month of February itself, saying I'm going to go on leave from this date to this date. So my team counsels them so that they stagger, so that not too many people go together. So already that kind of rhythm is set in. So one guy goes in April, one guy goes in May, the second guy will go in the second week of May, the third guy will go in June. So the guy who goes in June might get an extra 1 week of leave possibility, saying, we say, okay, by then a lot of guys who gone in April and May would be back. So you can go and you can enjoy 1 week more of rains there. So stuff like that. So we already staggered it on a Gantt level so that it doesn't really pinch us as much, because otherwise it's a standard phenomenon that happens every year. So this year, one of the things that I counsel to my team is saying, look, uh, we have taken the call that we're going to pay you, even though you're not working. By default, labor laws or anything else is defined as when there is an output, there is a pay. That is the meaning of, because I buy their time in the office. That is, we are in the time selling business or time buying business. So here, when they're not in office, how do you pay them? So first, it began for the month of March. We had about 10 days of non-working there. So we paid off full to everybody, and we said, look, we are giving you your full salaries. Take it, and it's a short-term thing. We might burn out, but I think you deserve it because you've been with us for so long. That's one. Second was in the month of May, when in the month of April, when this started extending, we broke down our entire company into 3 brackets. One is somebody who's working from home at full capacity. The second was who's working from home, but not at full capacity, a little bit here and there, doing some trainings, doing some learnings, documenting. And the third one was who's not working from home and who's not able to do any of these either. So these are the three brackets we did. Since the last year and a half or so, we have a online system where end of the day you need to put in a report. Whether somebody reads or not doesn't matter. You put your report, which can then be audited. So we said one of the main things, whatever you were working on, is what your HOD signifies, as well as what you put up in the list. So almost even in that, even the month of April, people did fill up 26. One guy, in fact, filled up 30. He said, "Sir, Sunday ko bhi main padhai karta tha, to main Sunday ko bhi likhta tha." So once they got into the groove, what they did, they got into the habit. So the reporting became more about, let me be aware. It's like my diary. I write what is there. So we get good stuff. I mean, people have improved their English writing this stuff. So once we did this, we said, okay, one category who's working from home, at least for April, even there we did a partial pay. Partial as in we cut a small amount out of that. We explained to them saying, look, you're not spending 1 hour coming and going. You're not doing this. You're not doing whatever else. We'll take it tomorrow. Keep it. We're not, doing whatever else coming up here. So, and plus the company is bleeding money. So as a thing, you will not get 100%. You'll get a little below that. So they took it in stride. I think 3 departments kind of work, which was sales, accounts, and design. So design, we were lucky that the moment the lockdown was happening, I told everybody to take the systems back home. And we have invested into cloud storage almost 5 years ago. I have almost 4 TB of storage on the cloud. So for us, really, it didn't impact. All my documents were online. Security was put up online. Each guy had a login to go and work. So whether he works from a mobile or he works from his wife's laptop or kid's laptop, he was still able to work, at least other departments, accounts and other things. And for the design, they took their workstations along with them. So they were actually able to do design. And sales, we spent a lot of time in mindset, because first thing is we say, "Arey, sir, dhanda nahi aane wala hai." No customer is going to say yes at this point of time. So we had to work deep on the mindset, saying, okay, 50% of my work is aviation and that's disappeared. They say aviation is not going to buy. So what more can we do? So we went down deep. We created business models. We created different customer bases. We created profiles, so that when we actually started calling, it became, for the customer, it was good because somebody is calling him except Karuna. So we started showing Karuna. So we started empathizing. I think Karuna means empathy.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So we said, forget about Corona. Let's start doing the Karuna. So we started calling the customers, started talking with empathy, started understanding. So rather than calling up and saying, sir, what happened to the quote? We rarely brought that up. So we started talking business with the customer, saying, how is your business going to get impacted? What do you think will happen because of social distancing? What do you think will happen if people exodus happens? So we got a lot of input there. I was personally talking to about, sometimes 8, 9, 10 people on the trot, long calls that too. I spoke to a lot of my classmates with whom I studied in the US. I went back to LinkedIn, started setting up appointments with them, started talking to them, just open talks, saying what is happening in the world. I spoke to a guy who passed out of Texas A&M in 1954. 1954. And I had a 2-hour conversation with that gentleman. So many things opened up about his domain knowledge, his domain expertise, which, kept documenting. I think my iPad must be filled with at least about 10 or 11 GB worth of handwritten notes that I've kept there. So, but that's all, like, that keeps you nimble, that keeps you open, positive, and that's where the opportunistic thing
That's
comes.
where you see that things can happen. So I'm just going to summarize. You said a lot of things here. We were talking about what were your secrets and how you have been able to retain people and people have not gone back. I think you first spoke about how you ensured that you had constant communication with the team. You divided the teams. Your supervisors were personally responsible for one-to-one conversations with people. And second, you spoke about how you kept the income going so that the loyalty factor that you have with them is not affected. One thing I would want to add from my end also, that it's not essentially what you just did in these 2 months with them. I think you have a different space in your company for the labor, uh, in terms of the insurance is taken care of, they have a fixed job, they are not on contract, they are on payroll with the company, so they already have a strong bond with the company. So this, I think, has definitely helped us. Then you spoke about how you ensured using cloud, how you ensured that the work from home is possible, so that you keep the ball rolling. People are not stagnating, people are not just getting into a comfort zone कि नहीं अभी तो nothing can happen. You kept it going, you kept people's energies going, allocating work which was developmental and something different, or you just kept them working. I think that was another thing that you spoke about. And of course, you have kept yourself also nimble, working, connecting to people, finding out new ideas, webinars, coaches. So all of this together has helped you. But tell me about this. There's a lot of talk about work from home, and so a lot of employees want to be working from home, and some departments, some have found business models around working from home. What is your take on work from home as a policy?
See, I think in manufacturing, almost 70% of my team is related to the shop floor. So for them, it is virtually impossible to be working from home at all.
Correct.
No chance that they can work from home. For the remaining 30%, which is the support functions, the engineering functions, and the accounting functions and sales functions, you might want to debate or discussing why can't it happen. Tools are available, technology is available, but then mindset does not fit in because you worked in a certain way for so long, and you it's not just you and your laptop. I mean, technically that way, even if I don't come to office, work will go on. I just need my phone and my laptop and an internet connection. I can sit in any corner of the world and kind of do it. But the reason why you come to office is the energy, the interdepartmental correlations, the work that you see, the energy of the place. That's like not possible being at home. And plus, at home, regardless of anybody saying that you can work 8 hours dedicatedly without any distractions and your output is the same, I think is not really telling the truth. It could be, and again, there's nothing wrong in that. It's not possible because the environment at home and the environment at work will be totally different. Otherwise, why would people spend so much money on real estate? So in some business models, yes, it's possible. But I think in manufacturing, work from home, number one is a disheartener, because if 70% of the people come, and if you say okay to a few people to be working from home, it really will dampen spirits of those guys who are taking the risk and coming all the way out here and going there. Secondly, I think the fear that people have that, or during the lockdown or during the whatever period, it was required not really for your own safety. It was required such that the infrastructure that needs to support all this kind of thing be built up. The capacities could be built up, medicines could be built up, and people get empathized. So today, this is like a way of part of our fashion or clothing or whatever else. The reason is also because people have over 2 months realized that if they don't take this seriously, what could happen. So otherwise, when the lockdown opened up, you would think it'll become a joke. Just like when the Thali Bajaving sessions happened, like on that day, people celebrated as if India won the World Cup. But that again was a small subset of the population that did it. But because of that, the entire population can suffer. We are 1.3 billion people. And if you're talking about like 1%, 2%, that number is equal to like population of a few countries.
Yeah.
So can't take it for granted. So work from home is not possible in terms of productivity or whatever. So for example, if there's somebody who has two small kids and we talk to them, so out of empathetic grounds, I will maybe agree. But if you say as a policy, it will become very, very difficult to make a similar judgment of what is the performance and output of that person versus the other person who's coming to office. And secondly, also, I think with that herd immunity that comes up, the fact that you're coming to office, the fact that you're keeping yourself physically and mentally Because we should also understand staying inside the house is a physical nightmare. The movements that you have done is very less, and your joints, your body, your muscles, everything is going to go for a toss. But now once you start coming to office, you get into a rhythm, you start meeting more, your emotional quotient starts developing better, because end of the day, man is a social animal. Man needs to be, I mean woman also. Man
The woman is quite productive at home because HR is more of interactions. I've been able to interact across and get many managers, but I understand where you're coming from in
No,
terms of
that again is a mindset change. What stopped you from using Zoom before the lockdown? The mentality was that, like a sales guy used to say, नहीं sir, Zoom में meeting नहीं होएगा जब तक हम customer के साथ बैठेंगे नहीं, handshake करेंगे नहीं, deals नहीं होएगा. I am telling you, in the last 3 years or so, I have cracked deals where I have not gone and physically met the customer. We've closed deals on the phone and Zoom. So it's a question of your skill, your ability, and convincing power to the customer. Because if you ask a customer, do you think I should come? He of course will say yes, because that's the power he's got. There are customers in Borivali, I don't visit them from Navi Mumbai. I say, sir, no, I won't come there. For a 1 hour meeting, if I need to travel 2 hours, it is waste of my time and productivity. If I need to come all the way to Delhi to just like meet you for 1 hour, what's the point? So even Sarkari customers have been understanding. I have done design reviews on video in the last 1 or 2 years also. So people do understand, and now I think it will become the way of working where you can do a lot more, and maybe the visit is when it is really required or when the relationship builds up. You can't sit and have a drink over Zoom. Maybe that's one aspect of relationship or networking, that yeah, but you never know where technology goes.
So it is safe for me to say that you're not against the concept of work from home, but technologically and mindset wise and the infrastructure wise, we and our teams are not yet ready for that. But yeah, we did do it for the 2 months where it was absolutely essential. We kept the ball rolling, but now that it is opening up, you want the energy back in office and everybody working together cohesively is what is a better thing for you to do. Correct. Now I'm going to ask a little difficult as in awkward questions. Did you have to cut jobs in these 2 months? What is your, would you, if you would have to, then how would you manage that?
So Nandan began 30 years ago, right? From then till now, I think not. My dad started the company, and he's still active as the chairman. I talk to him every day. So a lot of values have come from there. The moment the lockdown happened, and then there was so much fear in everybody. There are WhatsApp messages coming saying this guy is firing 10,000 people, this guy is firing this. So there was a lot of fear. So to assuage that fear, I had done the first broadcast, and I told these guys, in fact, at that time, I shaved off my head. So they saw me like a bald guy. So I said, we are talking about transformation. Transformation will happen when we get out of a comfort zone. In my 40 years, I've never ever shaved my head except maybe my mundan when I was a kid. So I said I wanted to do something different. So figuratively, literally, whatever, shaved off my head. I came in front. It was a nice joking, cracking point, and I gave a promise to these guys saying, look, till the time I can do it, I will not fire a single person because there is no work or because it is sitting across. Uh, the fact that there is no work is a bad, bad reflection of my skills, because I think the world is still big enough and the needs are still big enough that a company, if it's smart, can do. I am not saying this is true for every company. There are lots of big companies who will close. There are lots of small companies who will close. There are lots of MSMEs who will close. But if somebody works on it with strategy, even at this point of time, you can grow. So I explained this to them saying, look, we are at a place where, 6 months down, like this year for sure, we can't do appraisals. I do know that it is unfair on you because appraisals are supposed to be rewards for whatever you've done in the last year. We will continue the performance monitoring and evaluation function, but in terms of a delta on your salary, I don't think that the company can afford to do that on a value basis. Me and dad, as well as other management, both have taken heavy cuts on ourselves, saying we'll not do it till the time it comes to be a point when it is done. But I promised my team saying if we get out of this and if things go as per plan, nothing stops us from a mid-year appraisal cycle where you will see what will happen there. And we are actually working on big deals, which if it cracks, which if it works, can actually go in that direction. So that is one of the things where we promise them. But at the same time, I have realized this saying, if you have a plant and there are a lot of dried leaves and they don't wilt by themselves, this is a time when you need to give them a chance. You give them a chance of 2 months. You try to push as much of nutrients as you can from your side. But even after that, if the leaves don't absorb it, they will have to build. You don't have a choice. So that's something that I've not promised. I said I found it very difficult to fire people because of incompetence or because they're not performing, or we ran a wonderful exercise called square wheels. This was done by a coach named Solomon Salvis. He runs a good organization there. So we run that, and then we come to know that the cart that we are pulling, all of us, has a lot of square wheels, and all the round wheels are within the cart itself. But we never paused because we thought we were going to get slow. We never paused to wait, remove the square wheel and put the round wheels instead. But now this Corona time actually gave us that pause. We were all forced to pause. So the performance levels, the attitude levels, I think more than aptitude, it is the attitude that matters in these cases. Because even if the guy doesn't have aptitude, like there were a lot of my welders who posted videos on how to do better welding in Hindi by themselves. Okay, I didn't expect that them to do that, so I just gave in a call saying, you guys should go, and instead of just looking at TikTok videos or looking at cat and mouse videos, start looking videos which are relevant to your skills. Start seeing how to talk better. I gave them access to an English learning course. So there are a few of my workers who actually took that up. I said, whatever these learnings are happening, I'm funding it for you, but you need to go and take that step. I cannot force you to take that up. So there, and again, to their dismay, I come across and give them Murphy's once in between and say, what did you learn? Let me know. And then when I see the look on the guy's face, I exactly know that there is only attendance, but the mind is not there at all. So that shows how much the guy is willing to learn with you. Because if you're not willing to learn and grow, you can't be with me.
I've personally seen you push people and you taking personal interest in the development of people, and it's your policy that you will not fire, and it was excellent that you stood by them. You will not let go of them because of no work. You'll get more work, but of course, if it's an issue with the attitude or with the performance and the guy is not pulling up, we will definitely weed out the square wheels, and that's an excellent.
So again, that will not be done on a knee-jerk basis. We will do it with the process like we're already talking to you about it. A PIP will be instituted in place, and proper. Now we have a lot of tools on the ERP from where you can actually gauge a lot of the KPIs. So
Yes.
with that engagement and every 15-day review, we will be in a clear-cut position whether it will happen or not. And there, I think empathy is not the word, because uh, enough chances were given for that to happen. So either that particular individual can descale from whatever the role he's playing. Even that is an open option, saying if somebody is playing 10 roles and for which a certain compensation is decided, at this point of time, I'm even open saying that, okay, you drop this, you drop down in the compensation and you drop down in your deliverables. At least there will be no heartburn there. But if you want to continue in the status quo, if you want to remain in the comfort zone, not grow, and you take it for granted that chalta hai, this is only a passing phase, that is absolutely not true. Because I'm using systems, and systems are much better than memory.
So that's the balance that I always speak about, what business heads should have, that you empathize with the person, you push them, you mentor them, you coach them, but there is a time when you realize and say, okay, no, this is the time to dissociate now, because you're not ready to take all the nutrition that I am giving you. So maybe I'm not the right coach or the right place or the right place for you to grow further, and we will have to dissociate. So yes, we have to take these decisions sometimes. So now that we have opened full-fledged, so what precautions are you taking to ensure that people are safe and because the whole chunk is now start coming back to work. You have a big team of about 150 people now, almost 120 are coming. So how are you ensuring safety of people?
So a couple of things. One is that like I said, webinar attending is not just for motivation, but also for practical knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think there India has always shown that the practical knowledge that we have is better than any of the. So what KPMG does, really speaking, is that pick up from 20 people and publish into a book. But we've learned and studied best practices from a lot of organizations. So number one was we were constantly doing health monitoring for everybody. So there is a self-declaration, and only those who are not ill were allowed to come to work. That was the first no-brainer. And we let people know, saying that don't hide your illness just for that day's wages. Let us know about it, and we are there to stand with you.
Yes.
We've already taken a Mediclaim policy for the last 7 years. Consistently, every year we've had a Mediclaim policy for our staff. In fact, in the last year, we had even taken a term plan, which, coming as fortitude from LIC, it was, I don't know what made me do it, but we did it. So I said, we are completing 15 years of Nandan GSE. So that was a dedication that I put on, saying if somebody's worked with me 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, they need to get rewarded in a certain way. And reward in terms of getting to eat today, you might have a cake, you might booze and finish it off. But I think the best reward you can give is for mitigating the risk that the family can,
Yes.
live a safer life. You live with so much of comfort from that. So a lot of my older workers who worked in limited companies actually came down and cried to me and said, they've never seen anybody think about it that way, where without deduction to their salary, I had a term policy and the minimum plan was 10 lakh rupees per individual. So that was one. We made sure we sterilized everything. We called Pest Control of India. They had a service called the Sterifume service. So we did that rigorously throughout, washed, clean, put it up. There was hand-free sanitization at the gate. There was a infrared thermometer at the gate. The security was taught how to use that. We started maintaining logs so that we can see trending on what's happening. We started making social distancing squares wherever there was a line or an entry point. Biometrics, we had already changed almost 2 years ago. Again, change was because my workers, they all work with their hands, and most of them had their thumbprints, wiped out over
Yes.
time. We used to go to the biometric, and this lady used to say, please try again, please try again. I used to get irritated because I always, even when I come in, I used to stand in line. So if I was like 5 people before me, this guy would like go 20 times and please try again. So we actually changed our biometric systems about 2 years ago to facial recognition. So that was good. We didn't have to do much about it. So that biometrics and everything else went on. We Since the last 1.5 years, we've been doing an assembly on every Monday morning. So with distance, we continued that. That I think is also one of the very strong points which I've been able to, get a connection with people, because we all like stand together, sing the national anthem. That is a bare minimum. 1.5 years ago, when we began, the sound was so feeble because 90% of them didn't know the national anthem correctly. So today, everybody sings the national anthem with the pace at which it has to go, the loudness with which it has to go. It's a very good experience sitting together. I always talk to them on every Monday. They might think it is gyan, but I think it's a very important aspect of talking and explaining. A lot of my leaders, turn by turn, I used to get them and start talking to the team. So that gave them a lot of public speaking exposure, which otherwise was not possible. So 1.5 years ago, a guy, how he used to talk, and now how he talks, it's a big difference. And I can see the sense of ownership, where maybe one of the assemblies, if I don't come or if I'm late, so when I listen to it on my CCTV cameras and this guy speaking, even when I'm not there, that is exactly the strength of leadership that I've been looking to build. That a leader or a manager has to perform even when his boss is not looking. So when this guy goes and he talks to them saying, you guys are not taking adequate PPE precaution. I'm talking about pre-COVID. So post-COVID, it's an absolute no-no. So they themselves came up with a rule that if anybody is caught spitting inside the factory, he will immediately get a yellow card. And if he spits the second time, he will get a red card and they will recommend that he is terminated immediately. That is their recommendation, okay? Not even mine. I used to always get bugged when people spit or when people throw garbage around. I used to really get bugged. But then I myself have never enforced it this way. But this time they said that no, because the spit is not just about dirtiness. It's about if he's infected, he could infect 20 more or everybody there. So they came up with that, and after that, actually, the tobacco packets have kind of disappeared. So I always keep telling them, saying, you do anything outside the factory, I really can't govern your life. But during working hours, I have bought your time. You're not allowed to smoke. You're not allowed to do tobacco. You're not allowed to spit. Those little hygiene aspects you need to maintain within the factory. So going on, so we have ppe masks for everybody that we've issued, I think multiple times. We've the sanitize the soaps have been given for everybody so that they wash their hands better. Tea times have been regulated. Some
Sure.
of those aspects have come
So
up.
every aspect you have closely looked at from the entry. You miss saying that you've also organized, you've always been doing that, but you've taken care of how people travel also. And then the sanitization, you miss saying that
No,
maybe.
so that is kind of, so 15 years ago, before when the 2006 floods had come up, so then people used to come on their own by train, by bus, or whatever. So during that flood, I got a realization saying that, this guy's going to come late, and end of the day, I have to empathize with him. I am anyways paying his conveyance, so might as well I put up a company bus. So we put up a company bus way back in 2006. Until today, it picks up guys from as far as Marol, it comes to Sakinaka, Ghatkopar, Mankud, and then gets them to the factory and takes them on time. And again, nobody pays for it except the company. So we've continued on with that. We've carpooled, we bike pooled so that whoever is coming can come in together. Whoever can't come, we've tried to see. So we made a lot of lists. So again, being on Google Drive is very easy because 10 people sitting in 10 places are working on the same document together. We made a lot of lists. So, and again, I didn't interfere into that. I left it to my leader council, said, you guys look at it. So they gave a recommendation. They made some fancy. So this month's attendance sheet is terrible. It's got some 6 categories, which they developed. Okay, not me. So they call it like AWOL, AWL, then WFM, then WFM this, then AHI bracket TPT, AHI bracket health. So they developed that.
Yeah. So I've heard you say in one of your earlier interviews that when I came back to work, I realized I'm not the only Superman here. I have a battalion to with me,
Correct.
and I'm seeing that energy also. So you've been quite a dream client for an HR person like me, who's already inclined and aligned with all the philosophies of people management, HR, and so a lot of it came out from your from this discussion also. I will summarize this at the end, but with all this positivity, Raghu, what are your plans for 2021?
So I still think that 2020 is not lost. 2020, 21, we still have 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Let's say that the Q1 is gone. Okay, can't do much about it. But the fact is that even in Q1, we've been able to get orders from clients at a so Nandan does not believe in commodity. Nandan always believes that, price is what you pay and value is what you get. So we've never gone for the L1 kind of jobs. Though like in government, I don't have a choice, but they don't drive me as much. But the place where a customer is able to, from the time the customer comes in, he says, I have a budget for this. But then when we explain to him, he raises his budget, he raises the investment that he makes into the equipment because he knows over the next 10 or 15 years, he's deriving value from it. So when manpower is going to be reduced or when you want to do social distancing, you can't have too many people within your plant. People are going to invest into material handling systems. So we see that as an opportunity. In food, people want non-contact stuff. So the factories which used to make the food or the food grains or whatever, people used to still handle them with hands. Now we are making systems that are automating those machines. The defense as well as the government is saying make in India, do not import. So a lot of those high value items like, for example, if you get something worth $1 million from US and today we need to make it in India. it would not cost anything more than 700,000. So the country is actually saving 300,000. We are able to build up our, and again, okay, maybe you tell me on day one in the first order and you say that it is exactly the same as that. I don't think so. There's a learning curve, right?
Right.
So like Germany was completely wiped out during World War II, but they built up quality. So today people don't even remember that the Holocaust happened in Germany. They talk about Germany as if it's like the palliest country, but at some point of time, it was a enemy of the entire world. So same thing. I think history is always written by the victors. So even here, we will win over the corona, and we will talk about history at a later date where whatever policies we kind of stumbled upon were actually the policies that worked. So we continue with those policies as they are, and as an organization, it's always about the people. It is never about infrastructure. And if you do any amount of strategy, but if you don't concentrate on people, execution, and cash, it'll go for a fut. So I took this. In fact, it is one of the most expensive coachings I have done with this company called Scaling Up, which is by Vern Hanish from the US. And there we talk about it saying first you do strategy, then you do people, then you do execution, and then you need to look at it from the cash perspective. So cash is cash flow. So that was a like I redid my entire business plan looking at it from these perspectives and stuff like that. In fact, one of their coaches has consented through MyGyan to come and talk to Indian entrepreneurs for free for a 1 hour session. And again, I think givers gain is something that is told by BNI, and same has always been the case with me too. Whatever learnings I have done, I have freely shared it with a lot of entrepreneurs. So the reason why I'm talking to you and in this interview is also that it's not something that is to be kept in a safe or whatever, because end of the day we want India to be a stronger country,
Yes.
so that you grow, I grow, together we grow much better than what it was. Because today, like even before Modi came into the picture, I've been putting on my brochures, proudly made in India, delivered worldwide. That used to be the punchline on the first page of every of my brochure. And unless you're proud about it, unless you understand what it means, like in my company, my father was not very creative. So when he founded the company, he called it Nandan Enterprises. So why Nandan? Because Raghu Nandan ka Nandan. So fortunately or unfortunately, my name goes on the label of every product that's going out. So that kind of, so I wouldn't want also me or a Thuppatti solution to go out with a Nandan name. We want excellence, and excellence is not a 1 day or a 2 day project. It's an ongoing continual improvement project, whether it's Kaizen or Lean or whatever. Unless you run it consistently and it becomes your philosophy of life, it'll not work.
And
And I always believe that you always learn more when you teach.
yes,
So
yes,
the idea where I speak to a lot of my entrepreneur friends as their coach or whatever, sometimes it's very frustrating saying, you're giving this, it's like a life realization, but then nobody even picks it up. I'm like, what, are you guys gone mad? I have fought, and I have fought with these coaches. Whatever he sells for 15,000, I have been able to get it for you for, let's say, 5,000 or 6,000 bucks, and made it online for you. I thought you will be like, sending bouquets to my house and saying thank you. But after that also, there is no response. So sometimes you do get, but then you understand that everybody is not out of the comfort zone. There are lots of people who are in the comfort zone.
correct.
So for them, if you stop doing things, there are others who might be picking up little nuggets. So continue doing what you want to do. I do it because I enjoy doing it, not because I want to earn money. So when I set up mygyan.net, the idea was not that I will make up a lot of money. The idea was that it gives me a lot of satisfaction. And end of the day, it's about skilling India, because that's the punchline. Mygyan, skilling India. So skill is one aspect, but unless mindset changes, no matter how much ever training, how much ever skilling, how many ever books you give, a guy can sleep on a book for all his life and not understand a single thing about it. But
Implementation is the key, right? You can go on downloading information.
correct. So that is why I say that change can take a long time, but transformation happens like this.
Yeah, you pick up, you learn something small, you implement it, you will see the effect of
At
it.
this moment, I decide I want to transform, I will get transformed. If I don't decide that, no matter how much I get pushed, no matter how much I do, I will never transform. Change is always, reversible. So
Correct.
I can change today and tomorrow I can regress worse than what I was day before yesterday.
Correct.
So that that is a big learning that I've got now. Saying yeah, and it's also important that you hang out with the same kind of positive attitude people, because if you hang out with negative people, you will have a problem because you will start thinking there. So out here, like I say, I have an open door, but you might have problems, and I empathize with that. But there's only so much I can do about it. I can give you avenues. Suppose I gave you 10 things and you didn't even try two, and you still come and crib to me saying, I have these problems, I can't help you. If you try eight and they didn't work, I can sit with you and still try to see why those eight didn't work. I can maybe suggest something better from my experience
Correct.
than whatever. But whatever it is, it is.
Yeah. Okay, so you're all geared up, and it was excellent speaking to you, Raghu. I'm just going to summarize for everybody the myriad of points that you have brought in this conversation, and you'll be happy to know that you are being the HR manager yourself for the company, and we're doing a lot of things. That is what is so your entire conversation, I get a theme over here that you're only as strong as the team that you have. So along with me, let me make everybody else strong, and let's stand out. So that's the theme that comes to my mind in this entire conversation. The first thing that I understood and that I would want to highlight is the fairness and the parity that you've got into the system. So you designed proper systems analysis, who's working how much, who's putting in, and how. I will stand by you, but you have to deliver also. So you've maintained that balance. That's the first thing that you spoke about. Then you spoke about empathy, and you said that, okay, these are difficult times and I will stand by you. I will take care of your health. I'm concerned. I'm there for you. You will not lose your jobs. So this communication has been there. Then you spoke a lot of systems of communication, your assembly halls, the way your team has been communicating with every individual and are aware about what is happening. They're counseling. Then you spoke about social welfare facilities for people. So how you have taken care of their insurance, not just life now, but life later. So this was taking care of security. You've also taken care of people's mental security by training them, teaching them. We did a course in personal effectiveness at workspace, and I was excited how all levels of the organization participated very excitedly in it.
And Ritima was one of the first coaches to come on the MyGAN platform too. So
I definitely enjoyed interacting.
it's fantastic to track and to get work done.
Yes, yes. So then from communication, we went to training. A lot of your positivity has transcended into the team with your frequent connectivity with them through assemblies. Last but not the least, you have really pushed people hard. You've not allowed them to be in their comfort zones. So this is everything that a leader is supposed to do, and you've led fantastically. I've almost had like a fangirl moment with you, working so closely with you in the last 2 months, and I look forward to building more systems for better performance evaluation, amazing training, and to fulfill all the goals that we have, because we already have a positive feeling about Nandan with the way you speak. Yeah, Raghu, it was excellent talking to you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and I'm sure the viewers are also going to get a lot of insights from this conversation.
And anybody wants to connect, feel free to write into me or whatever. I don't mind having a little clarifying call, and I won't charge you.
Yeah. And I'm sure when you talk to business owners and they see it actually in action, it definitely helps people also. So yeah, with this, I would say thank you very much once again for allowing me to speak to you and to bring out what is it that you've been doing in these 2 months that has really brought in the strength of Nandan GSE.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Steer ahead.
Yes. Set, train, engage, evaluate, reward. STEER HRD.
Is that the full form?
Yes. I am surprised you don't know in the past 1.5 years.
With respect to direction, I didn't know.
Yeah. Set, train, engage, evaluate, reward. So now you know what to expect from me.
So I think as a closing note, I would, if there's any entrepreneur who's survived till watching this long, maybe I can summarize a few key
Yes, please.
secrets.
Yes.
Taken me a lot of hard work to learn. Number one, I think get a coach, because it's a very lonely journey being an entrepreneur, and peers will not be able to add value so much as a coach can. So when you go for a coach, coach is like the guru, like even Shivaji Maharaj required a guru to go there. So this is not about religion, it's about spirituality, it's about the energies, it's about focusing what is your being. And that only a coach can do, whoever is trained as a coach. So I think go get a coach. I have at least 3 coaches at any point of time. Number two is invest into yourself first, because as there's a book by Michael Gerber called E-Myth. So in that he talks about the number one reason why somebody becomes an entrepreneur is because he wants freedom, and the number two reason is because he thinks he can do something well. So if you see in the parlance, he's actually a technician, but he's not really a manager or he's not an investor. And MSMEs never get into the investor mode. Like even me or my dad or anybody else, we can never see the company in an objective manner like an investor. So that's sort of question. But at least as managers, from technicians, when we want to grow to be a manager, I think there's a lot of skills you need to pick up, which can only happen with continual learning. And you need to set up hourly learning goals for yourself. You need to write a journal, or you need to write a. I use Asana for my goal setting and stuff. So asana.com is a fantastic tool. You can use that. Number three is that always talk to your leadership team and talk only on policy. That's a big thing. Like now, when a guy comes to talk to me, I ask him transaction or policy, transaction or this. So the more initially they'll be very bugged. They'll be like, "क्या policy खड्डे में गया? मेरे को इसका भी solution मांगता है." So at that point of time, again I tell them, no. The thing is, have you done the basics? We have, like, if you see my table, I actually keep my flowchart on the table. So when anybody comes and they tell me something, I show them this and I said, did you follow the process? So then they'll go back and they'll get very frustrated, but they'll come back. Then they realize that there is a method to this process that has been done, because this has been developed by me over the years, refined by me over the years. Number four, go on the cloud as soon as you can, because the moment you're stuck to a server, you will have a lot of problems. So go onto the cloud. The cost is very cheap, but at the same time, invest into proper security and all. Otherwise, next thing you know, all your things start leaking. Number five, always look at things as an investment. Never look at it as an expense. Anything you invest into processes, machines, your people is always an investment. It is never an expense. So the more you put investment into it, the better your output will be. That's the reason why a guy who gives his worker no salary, but when you want to go to buy a machine, he'll buy the top of the line machine, because he knows that tomorrow if a cheap machine keeps breaking down, it will be a long-term problem. Rather than that, you do a short-term cost, amortize it over a longer period, you'll win there. Resilience. This is, I think, if there is one aspect of an organization you want to build into yourself, that is resilience. Resilience is meaning bouncing back. That means if you take a ball, you throw it to the ground, the energy with which you throw it into the ground is the energy it will use to rebound back. So you see any master, whether it's a Bruce Lee or you see a Jackie Chan or you see anything. So there what they say is use your opponent's energy and channelize it into the other means. So even here, if you have adversity, use that adversity to channelize and see the positives out of that and see what will happen. These moments will come when you start doing meditation. These moments will come when you have conversations with your coaches, when you have open-ended talks. There is no algorithm to this. This will just happen. That's the being in miracle zone. The next is read a lot. So books are a fantastic way to do this. I know videos are very easy to learn and it's like a shortcut, but I have a target of reading 50 books a year, and I consistently do that or surpass it most of the time. You can read on Kindle so that you don't waste paper that is coming here and there. So I have my iPad on which I have the Kindle and I read voraciously. I highlight, I read, I take snapshots, I share whatever that comes up. Network. This is a big aspect where if you're a great guy, but you're in some corner of the world and nobody knows about you, you will die something called obscurity. You will live your entire life. The generation before us, my dad's generations, if you say, are they better than us in their core skills? Of course they are, because they were focused. But in the world, how many people know them? Very, very few. Their stories are not known to people. Like, I mean, Riddhima should start talking to these guys, because the amount of learning I have got from people there, I at least talk to 2 or 3 such gentlemen as a mentor, over time. For example, right now I have 3 mentorship meetings lined up, one with the managing director of Titan, one with the CEO of Asian Paints, and one with the group president of Reliance. I don't even know what my question to them is. I don't even know what is they're going to give. But like, this is a freewheeling conversation. This freewheeling conversation could be like an hour. If you send me a questionnaire, I would have just filled it and sent it. But when it comes as a freewheeling conversation, there are so many learnings and lessons that are coming out of things. So start talking to more people. Start keeping yourself open. The moment you start saying ये नहीं हो सकता है, क्यों? क्योंकि अभी तक नहीं हुआ है. You're stopping all kinds of miracles to come into you. So the moment you believe that possibilities are endless, the moment you start believing that there is opportunity in everything, then there will be magic. That is the thing. Like, I had a good poster always stuck on my wall. Like, when I took the leap, I had faith I would find a net, but instead I learned I could fly. So I think at this point of time, I have aspirations of flying, and I think my wings are out and I want to fly. So
I'm more than excited to fly along with you, Raghu, and
okay.
Looking forward to doing more things with Nandan in the year to come.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time and great insights for business owners to how to manage their team, how to manage themselves, how to build an organization. So I think this conversation of 1 hour has brought in a lot of stuff, and thank you. That's all.
And if there's any entrepreneur who's actually watched up to this stage without forwarding, I can guarantee you have learnability. Start working on your skills. You can do miracles. I can write it on stamp paper and give it to you.
Yeah, the best came at the last. So we've been having interesting conversations, but the crux is at the last. I hope everybody's kept the patience going and got the best through this.
Okay, see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you around. Yeah, bye.